Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from PJ Media dated September 3rd, and it says, more than anything, survival of the Constitution is on the ballot in 2024. And again, I know it's one of those things that's almost hyperbolic. That's the word I'm trying to use right there. But it's true, given what Kamala is planning on doing. And let's go through the article and see if the author explains it for us. It says, the dividing lines between Republicans and Democrats are now more like ever-widening chasms. We can barely see each other from our entrenched positions. There's a lot of talk in the mainstream media and among Democrats about a fundamental shift in the Republican Party because of Donald Trump's influence. The only thing that's changing in the GOP is the way the party goes about the business of politics. Trump has energized the people who long ago grew tired of losing to Democrats because the Bush Republicans were more interested in angling for Fox News jobs than in winning elections. The principles of conservative Republicans haven't changed. Because in reality, it's the Democrats who have been creating the rift. They've been undergoing a progressive makeover for a long time, and what they consider to be the center is hanging out somewhere on a beach in Cuba. Right. If you had a time machine and went back to the early 1980s and brought Tip O'Neill to 2024, he'd switch parties and be a moderate Republican. Heck, he'd be more conservative than Mitt Romney, Larry Hogan, or whichever squish is running Ohio these days. What's his face? Mike DeWine? I think that's his name. Because there really are two Americas now, and one of them is filled with people who hate America. Democrats have been rewriting American history in public schools for decades now, telling everyone they can that they're embarrassed by it. Because when they are gluttonous when it comes to awful ideas, the Dems aren't content with merely overhauling the past to their fictional liking. They want to chart a completely new course for the country's future. There's one thing standing in their way, though, the Constitution of the United States. Democrats don't hate all of the Constitution, of course. Most of them would take a bullet for the 16th Amendment. They just tend to despise much of what freedom-loving Americans place a premium on. As the First, Second, Fifth, and 14th Amendments are particularly problematic for them, as is anything having to do with the Electoral College. Sure, they all pretend to be fans of the First Amendment rights because their propagandists in the mainstream media need to hide behind it while lying to the American people as part of the Democrats' multi-pronged approach to election interference. As we have seen so often in recent years, they prefer a very selective application of free speech that only applies to them. Dems would prefer that people like me and my colleagues be shut down and silenced for good. Correct. If Kamala Harris's duck and cackle campaign helps her get into the White House, the executive branch will unleash a full-scale assault on free speech, the right to bear arms, and due process. The Biden administration's thuggish ways will seem reasonable by comparison. Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen if she gets in. And I like that. Trump should, the duck and cackle thing, Trump should adopt that. Says then they will set about trying to do away with the Electoral College. Articles bemoaning its existence are staples of the opinion sections of the New York Times and Washington Post, and that's going to be a huge problem. It says, we joke a lot about the gulags here. Says, well, I do. It says, this year, but come on, we know they're coming. The Democrats are focused on two things this year: destroy Donald Trump, then destroy the Constitution. The goal is a one-party totalitarian state that they will laughingly suggest will be ushered in by a Trump victory. Yes, it's basically look over there at what they're doing while they themselves are doing all the things they say the other guy's doing. As I wrote in a morning briefing headline back in May, the Democrats are everything they say they fear about Trump. Correct. They're all putting a dictator in the Oval Office. They just want one they can control. That is correct. And by the way, I do read this author's morning briefing every day. It's Monday through Friday. Go ahead and read it. It's usually got the appropriate amount of snark in it. While I have overwhelming concerns about issues like the border, the economy, and World War III, I'm really a one-issue voter this year. I'm voting for the guy who doesn't think the Constitution needs to be shredded in order for the United States of America to be more to his liking. Yep, I think that's really what it comes down to. It's a very simple thing, is do you want this country to remain free or not? Okay, your choices are between freedom and communism. Okay, you want freedom, you pick Trump. You want communism, which is basically what China's in right now, North Korea, Cuba, Soviet Russia, then you pick Kamala, because that's what's going to happen. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.